The smell of engine oil and metal filled the small repair shop. June wiped sweat from his forehead, leaving a dark smudge across his skin. He had been working on the broken engine for 6 hours straight. His back hurt, but he smiled as the engine finally hummed to life. Fixed another impossible job, he said to himself. June was the best mechanic in New Sol Colony. His shop sat at the edge of the human settlement, a simple metal building with a faded sign that read, June's Repairs. Inside, tools hung on the walls and broken machines waited for his magic touch. Humans and aliens alike came to him when no one else could fix their problems. The door to his shop slid open with a creak. June looked up, expecting to see Minji, his assistant. Instead, a tall figure wrapped in shining silver robes stood in the doorway. The stranger's skin had a pale blue tint, and his eyes were completely black. He was clearly not human. "Are you June, the mechanic?" the stranger asked. His voice sounded like flowing water. June put down his wrench. "Yes, that's me. How can I help you?" The stranger bowed slightly. "I am Dal, royal messenger of King Tay, ruler of the Galactic hegemony. My king has heard of your skills." June blinked, in surprise. The Galactic hegemony controlled hundreds of star systems. Why would their king care about a small-time mechanic? "The king's personal ship needs repair," Dal continued. "He has chosen you for this honor." "Me? Why not use the royal mechanics?" June asked. Dal's face remained expressionless. "They have failed. Your reputation for fixing the unfixable has reached the king's ears." From the back room, Minji appeared. She was a short woman with bright eyes and a quick mind. She had been June's assistant for 3 years. "The Galactic hegemony?" she whispered to June. "This could be big." Dal pulled out a small device and pressed a button. A hologram appeared showing numbers that made June's eyes widen. "This is your payment," Dal said. "Half now, half when the job is complete." It was more money than June would earn in 10 years. He could buy a better shop, newer tools, maybe even his own spaceship. "What's wrong with the king's ship?" June asked. Dal's eyes shifted slightly. "The details are secret. You will see when you arrive." Minji tugged on June's sleeve. "Can we talk privately?" They stepped into the back room. "This seems strange," Minji said. "Why would the king want you specifically, and why won't they tell you what's wrong with the ship?" June nodded. "I know. But that money could change everything for us." "Just be careful," Minji said. "Rich and powerful people often have secrets." June returned to Dal and nodded. "I'll do it." "Excellent," Dal said. "Pack your tools, we leave immediately." June quickly gathered his best tools into a large metal case. He hugged Minji goodbye. "I'll be back soon," he promised. "Keep the shop running." "Come back safely," she said. "I don't trust that royal messenger." June followed Dal outside. A sleek silver spacecraft waited, much fancier than anything that normally landed in New Sol Colony. 4 guards in black armor stood by the entrance ramp. As they boarded, June noticed unusual security measures. The guard scanned him multiple times. One guard took his tool case for inspection. "Is all this necessary?" June asked. "The king's security is our highest priority," Dal replied smoothly. The journey lasted 3 days. June stayed in a small but comfortable cabin. He tried asking the crew about the repair job, but no one would tell him anything. On the 3rd day, Dal announced they had arrived. June looked out the window and gasped. The royal palace was not on a planet but floated in space, a massive structure of gleaming metal and crystal, with smaller ships moving around it like insects around a hive. "It's beautiful," June said. "The king will see you immediately," Dal said, ignoring June's comment. June expected to be taken to a hangar or repair bay. Instead, they led him deeper into the palace, through corridors where important-looking aliens and humans in expensive clothes stared at his simple work clothes. Finally, they stopped at a large door with strange symbols carved into it. "The king waits inside," Dal said. June took a deep breath and stepped through the door. The room beyond was not a hangar. It looked more like a laboratory. Strange machines lined the walls. In the center was a large clear chamber, and inside that chamber was not a spaceship, it was an animal, or at least it looked like one, about the size of a large wolf with pure white fur that seemed to glow. But no wolf had 6 eyes arranged in a circle on its face. No wolf had glowing blue veins visible through its fur. No wolf had what appeared to be small metal ports embedded in its back. June turned to Dal in confusion. "I don't understand. Where is the ship I'm supposed to fix?" "There is no ship," came a new voice. A tall man in elaborate golden robes stepped from the shadows. His face was handsome but cold, with eyes that seemed to calculate everything they saw. "I am King Tay," he said. "And you are the mechanic who will fix my paean." "You're... what?" June asked. The king gestured to the white wolf creature. "This is a paean, a biomechanical life form, the last albino of its kind. And it is malfunctioning." June shook his head. "I fix machines, not animals. I don't know anything about whatever this is." King Tay smiled, but the smile did not reach his eyes. "A paean is part machine, part biological. Your skills apply, and you will fix it." "And if I refuse?" June asked, feeling a chill run down his spine. The king's smile disappeared. "Then you will never leave this palace. My offer was genuine, mechanic. Fix my paean, receive your payment, return to your simple life. Refuse, and that life ends here." June looked at the creature again. It stared back with its 6 eyes. For a moment, June thought he saw intelligence there, and something else. Pain. "What's wrong with it?" June asked, quietly. "It refuses to obey," King Tay said. "It has a virus in its neural network. Remove it, make it compliant, and you succeed. You have 1 month." The king turned to leave, then stopped. "Oh, and June, don't try to communicate with it. The paean are manipulative creatures. Trust only what I tell you." After the king left, Dal showed June to a small room connected to the laboratory. "You will work and sleep here," Dal said. "Food will be brought 3 times daily. Everything you need is provided." When Dal left, June sat heavily on the bed. Minji had been right to be suspicious. This was not a simple repair job. He was trapped in a royal palace, forced to fix an alien creature he knew nothing about. He looked through the window at the paean, in its chamber. The creature had laid down, its eyes closed. It looked peaceful but somehow sad. "What have I gotten myself into?" June whispered to himself. June woke up early the next morning. His new room felt cold and empty compared to his small apartment above his repair shop. He missed the familiar sounds of New Soul Colony, the buzz of hover vehicles, the chatter of street vendors, the hum of his own machines. He splashed water on his face and stared at his reflection in the mirror. "You can do this," he told himself. "Just treat it like any other repair job." But this was nothing like fixing a broken engine or a damaged ship. The white creature, the paean, as King Tay had called it, was alive. And June knew nothing about alien biology. A soft chime announced that the door to his room had unlocked. June stepped into the laboratory. The white wolf-like creature was awake, watching him with its 6 eyes. It made no sound, but June felt observed. "Good morning," June said, feeling silly for talking to it. "I guess we'll be spending a lot of time together." A door on the opposite side of the lab slid open. A young woman entered, carrying a tablet. She wore a white coat with the royal emblem on the shoulder. Her hair was tied back in a neat bun, and she had kind eyes. "You must be the mechanic," she said. "I am Hyun, junior royal scientist. I have been assigned to assist you." June felt relieved to see another person. "I'm June, and I'll need all the help I can get. I fix machines, not living creatures." Hyun walked over to a console and pressed a few buttons. Screens lit up, showing strange diagrams and readings. "The paean is not just a living creature," she explained. "It is a biomechanical entity, half biological, half technology, the most advanced living machine in the galaxy." "What does it do?" June asked. Hyun hesitated before answering. "It is designed to bond with a pilot, to enhance their abilities. She lowered her voice. This one is special. It is the last albino of its kind. The white ones are rare and more powerful. June looked at the creature with new understanding. So it's like a living ship. A living weapon, Hyun corrected. The king wants to use it in battle. June walked closer to the chamber holding the paean. The creature watched him but remained still. The king said it has a virus in its neural network. Is that true? Hyun looked around nervously, then motioned for June to follow her to a corner of the lab. She pressed a button on her tablet and a low hum filled the air. Sound dampening, she explained. What I am about to tell you must stay between us. June nodded, his heart beating faster. The paean does not have a virus, Hyun whispered. It is rejecting the king as its host. What do you mean? The paean choose their pilots. This one has chosen someone else and the king is furious. He infected it with a control virus to force it to accept him. June felt a chill. So the king wants me to make it obey him against its will? Hyun nodded. If the king discovers I told you this, we will both be executed. But I cannot stand by and watch this magnificent creature be enslaved. Why help me? June asked. Why take this risk? Hyun's eyes filled with sadness. My people once worked with the paean as partners, not masters. What the king is doing dishonors that history. She took a deep breath. Also, I have seen what happens to those who fail the king. I do not wish that fate for you. June looked back at the paean. Does it have a name? The king calls it Baek, for its white color. What will happen if I refuse to help the king? Hyun's face grew serious. You will disappear, like the 6 mechanics. Before you. June's stomach dropped. 6 before me? Hyun nodded. You are not the first he has brought here. The others either failed or refused. June sat down heavily on a nearby stool. I'm trapped. We both are, Hyun said. But perhaps together we can find a solution. She turned off the sound dampening and returned to a professional tone. Let me show you the diagnostic tools. For the next few hours, Hyun taught June how to read the paean's vital signs and neural patterns. The screen showed complex networks of biological and mechanical systems working together in perfect harmony. It's beautiful, June said. Like nothing I've ever seen. The paean were created by an ancient civilization, Hyun explained. Some believe they were meant to be guardians of peace, not weapons of war. As the day progressed, June began to understand the paean's systems better. His knowledge of machines helped him grasp the mechanical aspects, and Hyun guided him through the biological components. During a break, while Hyun was getting food, June approached the chamber holding back. The paean raised its head, all 6 eyes focusing on him. I wish I knew what you were thinking, June said quietly. Suddenly, a blue light pulsed along the veins visible through Baek's white fur. One of the screens behind June beeped. He turned to see a strange pattern appearing on the neural monitor. June moved closer to the screen. The pattern changed again, forming what looked almost like words in a language he didn't recognize. Are you trying to communicate? June whispered. The pattern shifted once more, and this time June felt a strange sensation like a whisper in his mind. Not words exactly, but feelings. Fear, hope, determination. The door slid open, and June quickly stepped away from the monitor. King Tae entered, flanked by 2 guards. Hyun followed behind, looking nervous. How is your progress, mechanic? The king demanded. June bowed slightly. I am learning the paean systems, Your Highness. It is complex. The king approached the chamber. Baek growled softly, its fur bristling. Still defiant, the king said coldly. Fix this, mechanic. Make it understand who its master is. May I ask, Your Highness, what you intend to use the paean for? June asked carefully. The king's eyes narrowed. That is not your concern. Your job is to repair, not to question. Understanding its purpose might help me fix the problem, June suggested. For a moment, the king seemed angry. Then his face smoothed into a calculated smile. Very well. The peon, when bonded with its pilot, can control other machines. Imagine the power. One mind controlling an entire fleet of ships, a whole army of robots. The pilot becomes a living command center. June tried to hide his shock. That's impressive technology. It is the future of warfare, the king said. And I will be the only one to possess it. He turned to leave, then stopped. You have 28 days left, mechanic. Do not disappoint me. After the king left, Yoon approached June, her face pale. Did you feel it? She asked. Feel what? When you were near the peon, it reached out to you. I saw the neural patterns. Change. June hesitated, then nodded. It tried to communicate with me. Hyun's eyes widened. That's remarkable. It has never responded to anyone like that except who? The one it chose as its true pilot. Hyun whispered. June, I think the peon has chosen you. Chosen me? June stepped back in shock. That can't be right. I'm just a mechanic from a small colony. Hyun shook her head. The peon do not care about titles or status. They sense something deeper. She looked at Beck thoughtfully. There must be something special about you. June did not feel special. He felt scared and confused. He walked closer to the chamber where Beck was kept. The white wolf-like creature tilted its head, all 6 eyes watching him with intelligence. If that's true, what does it mean for me? June asked. It means you are in great danger, Hyun replied. If the king discovers this, he will see you as a rival. For the next few days, June and Hyun worked closely together. On the surface, they appeared to be trying to remove the virus from Bayek's neural network. In reality, they were learning more about the bond between June and the peon. June discovered he could sense Bayek's feelings when he touched the walls of the containment chamber. It started as faint impressions, hunger, curiosity, caution, but as days passed, the connection grew stronger. This is remarkable, Hyun said, studying the readings on her tablet. Your brainwaves synchronize with Bayek's when you make contact. I have never seen such compatibility between a human and a peon. Is that why I can understand its system so easily? June asked. He had surprised himself with how quickly he grasped the complex mixture of biology and technology that made up the peon. Despite having no training in xenobiology, June found he could interpret Bayek's internal workings almost instinctively. Yes, Hyun confirmed. The bond is sharing knowledge. Bayek is teaching you. On the 5th day, King Tae visited the laboratory for an update. June tensed as the king entered, worried that his connection with Bayek would somehow be visible. Progress report, the king demanded. June bowed slightly. The virus is complex, Your Highness. It has integrated deeply with the peon's systems. Removing it will take time. This was partly true. There was a virus, but June was not trying to remove it. He was helping Bayek fight against it from within. The king frowned. My patience grows thin, mechanic. Perhaps a demonstration of our progress would help, Hyun suggested quickly. She nodded to June. June pressed a series of buttons on the control panel. Inside the chamber, Bayek stood up and walked in a circle, then sat down again. The movements were smooth and controlled. Improved motor function, Hyun explained. The virus was affecting its movement. We have restored that aspect. The king looked pleased. Better, but can it bond yet? Not yet, Your Highness, June said. The bonding protocols are still corrupted. The king stared at Beck for a long moment. The peon stared back, its expression unreadable. Then, to everyone's surprise, Beck lowered its head slightly, as if bowing to the king. A smile spread across King Tae's face. It begins to recognize its master. Good. He turned to leave. Continue your work. I expect a full bonding test in 2 weeks. After the king left, Hyun rushed to check the monitors. How did you do that? The neural patterns show no change in Bayek's attitude toward the king. June smiled. I didn't do anything. Baek did. It's pretending to submit. The peon is playing along with our deception, Hyun said, amazed. It understands our plan. That night, while Hyun slept in her quarters, June stayed late in the lab. He sat near Bayek's chamber, talking softly. I wish I knew more about you, he said. Where you come from, what your kind is really like. Bayek approached the clear wall separating them. It pressed one paw against the barrier. Acting on instinct, June placed his hand against the wall, matching Bayek's paw. A flood of images rushed into June's mind. He saw a beautiful world with 3 moons, herds of payan running free across vast plains. Then came darker images, hunters capturing payan, experiments in cold laboratories, payan being forced to bond with cruel masters. June gasped and pulled his hand away, breaking the connection. You showed me your memories, he whispered. Bayek's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, almost like a nod. June placed his hand on the wall again. This time he sent his own images, his repair shop, Minji, the colony where he grew up. He shared the feeling of fixing broken things, the satisfaction of making something work again. The exchange continued for hours. Through flashes of images and emotions, June learned the truth about the payan. They were not weapons, but peacekeepers. The ability to bond and control machines was meant to restore harmony, not create destruction. The albino payan, like Bayek, were especially revered for their wisdom and power. When Hyun returned the next morning, she found June asleep on the floor next to Bayek's chamber. The payan was also sleeping, positioned as close to June as the barrier would allow. June, she said, shaking him gently. Wake up, I have news. June opened his eyes, feeling more rested than he had in days despite sleeping on the hard floor. What is it? Hyun looked excited but nervous. I analyzed your DNA against the payan's genetic structure. There are similarities that should not be possible. She showed him her tablet. Complex diagrams and charts filled the screen. What does this mean? June asked, trying to make sense of the information. It means humans share genetic markers with the creators of the payan, Hyun explained. According to our historical records, the creators disappeared thousands of years ago, but this suggests they might have had a connection to Earth, to humans. June looked at Bayek, who was now awake and watching them. Is that why it chose me? Because I reminded of its creators? Perhaps, Hyun said. But there is more. These specific markers are rare in humans. You have more than most. It might explain your unusual compatibility with Bayek. A chime sounded, indicating someone was approaching. Hyun quickly put away her tablet. Act normal, she whispered. Dal, the royal messenger who had first brought June to the palace, entered the lab. The king wishes to know why you were not in your quarters last night, mechanic, Dal said, his black eyes fixed on June. I was working. Late, June replied. I must have fallen asleep here. Dal looked suspicious. The king accelerates his timetable. He will test the bond with the payan in 3 days, not 2 weeks. Hyun gasped. But that's too soon. The neural pathways need more time to... The king has decided, Dal interrupted. 3 days. He turned and left without another word. June and Hyun looked at each other in alarm. 3 days, June repeated. What happens if Bayek still refuses to bond with the king? The king will know our deception, Hyun said, and he will have us both executed. June looked at Bayek. The payan's blue veins glowed brighter, pulsing with what June now recognized as determination. Then we have 3 days to escape, June said. Hyun nodded slowly. I will help you. But know this. No one has ever escaped the royal palace. June placed his hand against Bayek's chamber again. He felt a surge of confidence and courage flowing from the payan into him. No one ever had a payan on their side before, he said. The next morning, June woke with a clear purpose. 3 days to escape the most secure palace in the galaxy. It seemed impossible, but he had to try. Hyun arrived early, carrying extra food and a small device June had never seen before. What is that? June asked, biting into a sweet roll. A security bypass, Hyun whispered, showing him the small silver circle. It will help us move through the palace without triggering alarms. But it only works for 8 hours, so we must time our escape perfectly. They spent the morning pretending to work on Bayek's systems while actually planning their escape. June drew a rough map of the palace based on what he remembered from his arrival. The royal hangar is 4 levels above us, Hyun explained, pointing to a spot on the map. There are small transport ships there. I can fly one. But how do we get Beck out of this chamber? June asked. It must weigh hundreds of pounds and the chamber controls are locked. Hyun smiled. That is why I brought you this. She handed him a small tool that looked like a screwdriver but had a glowing blue tip. A universal key. It can unlock any system in the palace. One of the benefits of working in the Royal Science Division. June took the tool carefully. Where did you get this? I made it, Hyun said proudly. The king does not know. I have been planning my own escape for months. June looked at her with new respect. Why help me? You could have escaped on your own. Hyun glanced at Bayek. Because the Pian are sacred to my people. I cannot let the king abuse one for his wars. She paused. And because I believe you and Bayek together might actually succeed where I alone would fail. They worked out a plan. The royal palace ran on a cycle of artificial day and night. During the night cycle, security would be lighter. They would make their move in 2 days during the deepest part of the night cycle. What about the virus in Bayek's system? June asked. Will it affect our escape? You need to remove it before we leave, Hyun said. Otherwise, the king could use it to track us or even shut down Bayek remotely. For the rest of the day, June worked on understanding the virus. It was complex, embedded deeply in Bayek's neural network. But with each passing hour, the connection between June and the Payan grew stronger. June could now sense not just feelings but thoughts from Bayek, though they came as broken images rather than words. That night, after Hyun left, June stayed late again. He placed both hands on Beck's chamber. Show me the virus, he said quietly. Through their connection, Beck guided June through its own system. In his mind, June saw the virus as a dark web wrapped around bright pathways of light. He understood now. The virus was designed to redirect Beck's bonding process, forcing it to accept the king instead of its chosen pilot. I think I can remove it, June told Beck, but it will take time. The next day, June and Hyun continued preparations. Hyun adjusted the environmental controls to create a distraction during their escape. June worked on removing the virus, bit by bit, careful not to trigger any alarms in the monitoring system. The king will visit tomorrow morning to check our progress before the bonding test, Hyun warned. We must convince him that everything is ready. What if he wants to test the bond early? June asked. Then we must move up our timetable, Hyun replied. Be ready for anything. That evening, June made a breakthrough with the virus. He found its central control node, a complex knot of programming that held the entire thing together. If I can disable this, the rest of the virus will fall apart, he told Bayek. Through their connection, June felt Bayek's agreement and encouragement. The Payan trusted him completely now. Working carefully, June isolated the control node and began to unravel it line by line. It was delicate work, like disarming a bomb. Hours passed. June's eyes burned with tiredness, but he kept going. Finally, near the middle of the night cycle, he felt something give way. The node collapsed and the virus began to dissolve throughout Bayek's system. We did it, June whispered, pressing his forehead against the chamber wall in exhaustion. Beck's 6 eyes blinked in sequence and its blue veins pulsed with what June now recognized as joy. Through their connection, June felt a wave of gratitude and freedom. He was about to call Hyun with the good news when the laboratory door slid open. June turned, expecting to see Hyun. Instead, King Tae stood there, flanked by 4 guards and Dal. What exactly have you done, mechanic? The king asked coldly. June's heart raced. Your Highness, I was just running a final diagnostic before tomorrow's test. The king walked closer, his eyes narrow with suspicion. My sensors detected a change in the Payan's neural patterns. A significant change. He turned to Dal. Show him. Dal held up a tablet displaying a graph with a sharp downward spike. The control virus has been compromised. The king's face hardened with anger. You have not been removing the virus from the bonding system. You have been removing it entirely. He stepped closer to June. Did you think I would not notice? Did you think I am a fool? June backed away. The virus was preventing proper function. I had to remove it to prepare for bonding. Lies, the king hissed. I see now why the peon responds to you. It has chosen you. His hand moved to a weapon at his belt. This is why I never let the mechanics live. They always become too attached to the peon. June looked desperately around the lab for a weapon or escape route. The king raised his hand, signaling the guards. Take him to the execution chamber, the king ordered. The bonding test will proceed immediately, without him. The guards moved toward June. Suddenly, the lights in the laboratory flickered and went out. Emergency lighting came on, bathing everything in dim red light. What is happening? The king demanded. Dal checked his tablet. Environmental system malfunction, Your Highness. The backup systems are activating. June realized that Hyun must have triggered her distraction early. In the confusion, he dove behind a large piece of equipment. The guards shouted and began searching for him. The laboratory door slid open again and Hyun rushed in, appearing panicked. Your Highness, there is a fire in the east wing. The suppression systems are failing. The king hesitated, torn between capturing June and addressing this new crisis. Find the mechanic, he ordered two of the guards. You two, come with me to check the fire. As the king moved toward the door with Dal and two guards, Hyun caught June's eye and subtly pointed to the console near Beck's chamber. She had left the universal key there. The moment the king left, June made his move. He raced to the console, grabbed the key, and ran to Beck's chamber. The remaining guards shouted and fired their weapons, but June was already inserting the key into the chamber's lock. With a hiss, the clear walls of the chamber began to retract. Beck stood up, shaking its white fur. For the first time, nothing separated June and the peon. The guards approached cautiously, weapons aimed at both June and Beck. Hyun edged around the room toward the exit. Step away from the creature. 1, guard ordered. June looked into Bayek's 6 eyes. The peon looked back and a clear thought formed in June's mind. Trust me. Without hesitation, June placed his hand directly on Bayek's head. The connection that had been building for days suddenly exploded into full contact. A blinding flash of blue light filled the room. The guards cried out and covered their eyes. Hyun gasped. In the center of the fading light stood June, his hand still resting on Bayek's head. But something had changed. Blue veins now pulsed visibly beneath June's skin, matching the pattern on Bayek's fur. The bond, Hyun whispered. It's happening. The guards raised their weapons but hesitated. They had never seen anything like this before. June stood tall beside Bayek, blue light pulsing under his skin. He felt strong, powerful, and completely connected to the peon. Lower your weapons, June said. His voice had changed, carrying an echo as if Beck spoke through him as well. The guards did not move. I said, lower your weapons. June repeated. He raised his hand, and to everyone's surprise, the guards' weapons flew from their hands and clattered across the floor. Hyun gasped. The control of machines. The bond is already working. June turned to her, his eyes now glowing with the same blue light as Beck's veins. We need to leave now. One guard reached for a communication device on his belt. Without touching it, June made the device spark and die. No one calls for help, June said. The two guards backed away, fear clear on their faces. Hyun rushed to the door. This way. We must reach the hangar. June and Beck moved as one, following. Hyun into the corridor. Alarms began to sound throughout the palace. The king had discovered their deception. The security bypass, Hyun said, handing the small silver device to June. Use it now. June pressed the device against a wall panel. The alarms in their section went silent, and the emergency lights returned to normal. It tricks the system into thinking this area is secure, Hyun explained as they ran. But it will only last a short time. They moved quickly through the palace corridors. Whenever they encountered locked doors, June merely had to look at them and they slid open. The bond with Beck gave him control over the palace technology. 2. Levels up, Hyun said, pointing to a lift at the end of the corridor. As they approached the lift, a group of royal guards appeared from a side passage. The guards shouted and drew their weapons. "Get behind me," June told Hyun. The guards fired, but their energy bolt stopped in mid-air before reaching June. The blue light around him pulsed brighter, and the energy bolts dispersed harmlessly. "Beck is protecting us," June said, amazed. By the Payan's power. He raised his hand again and a wave of force pushed the guards back against the wall, knocking them unconscious. "How are you doing this?" Hyun asked as they entered the lift. "I am not sure," June admitted. "It feels natural. Like Beck and I think the same thoughts, move with the same purpose." The lift carried them upward toward the hangar level. June could feel Beck's mind merged with his own. The Payan shared its knowledge, its history, its power. With each passing moment, the bond grew stronger. The lift doors opened onto another corridor. They were just one level below the hangar now. "Almost there," Hyun said. A voice came over the palace communication system. It was King Tae. "Attention all royal guards. The human mechanic has bonded with the Payan and is attempting to escape. They must be stopped at all costs. Kill the human if necessary, but the Payan must be captured alive." "The king sounds angry," June said with a small smile. They reached the final lift that would take them to the hangar. As the doors closed, the security bypass device in June's hand made a sharp cracking sound and died. "The bypass has failed," Hyun said. "The king will know exactly where we are now." The lift doors opened onto the royal hangar. It was enormous, filled with sleek ships of various sizes. But between them and the ship stood King Tae himself, surrounded by at least 20 elite guards. "I must admit, I am impressed," the king said, his voice cold. "No mechanic has ever bonded with the Payan before. You are full of surprises, June of New Soul Colony." June stepped forward, Beck moving perfectly in sync with him. "Let us pass, King Tae. This ends now," the king laughed. "This ends when I say it ends. The Payan belongs to me. The bond can be transferred from you to me, even if you must die in the process." "Beck chose me," June said. "The Payan are not tools to be owned. Everything in this galaxy is mine to own," the king snarled. He raised his hand and the guards aimed their weapons. "Take them," the guards fired all at once. June raised both hands, and a blue shield of energy formed around himself, Beck, and Hyun. The weapon fire bounced off harmlessly. "Run for that ship," June told Hyun, pointing to a small but fast-looking vessel at the edge of the hangar. "Get it ready for launch." Hyun nodded and sprinted toward the ship while June and Bayek held the shield. The king's face twisted with rage. "You cannot escape me." He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Pain shot through June's head. Beck growled in agony. The bond wavered and the shield began to fail. "A neural disruptor," the king said, smiling cruelly. "Designed specifically for the Payan. The bond may protect you from weapons, but not from this." June fell to one knee, fighting against the pain. Through the bond he could feel Beck struggling as well. The king walked closer, the disruptor held high. "You see, mechanic, I planned for every possibility. Even this one." Through the haze of pain, June felt Beck send him a new thought. Together, understanding flowed between them. The disruptor was targeting their minds individually, trying to break the connection between them. But what if they went deeper, became more completely joined? June reached out and placed his hand on Bayek's head again. Instead of fighting the pain separately, they embraced it together. The blue light surrounding them pulsed once, twice, then flared blindingly bright. The disruptor in the king's hand exploded. The king cried out, dropping the smoking device. June stood up, stronger than before. The blue veins under his skin now glowed intensely. Beck's 6 eyes had changed color to match June's. "What have you done?" the king demanded, backing away. "We have completed the bond," June said, his voice resonating strangely. "We are one now." With a gesture, June sent the king's guards flying backward. They hit the walls of the hangar and slumped to the floor. The king turned to run, but June raised his hand and the king froze in place, unable to move. "You will not escape justice," June said, walking closer to the king. "The peon remember what you did to their kind, how many you hunted, how many you killed trying to get one to accept you." Fear showed in the king's eyes for the first time. "What are you going to do to me?" Before June could answer, Hyun called from the ship. "June, the ship is ready. We must go now." June looked at the king. It would be easy to end him now, to give justice to all the Payan who had suffered. But that was not the Payan way. They were peacekeepers, not executioners. "You will live," June said, "but the galaxy will know the truth about you." With a mental command, June activated the palace communication system. His voice echoed throughout the entire royal complex and beyond, to ships in orbit and even to nearby worlds. "People of the galactic hegemony, your king has lied to you. He has hunted and killed innocent beings for his own power. The Payan were not meant to be weapons but guardians. Today we break free. Today a new age begins." June released the king from his hold and ran to the ship where Hyun waited. Bayek leapt aboard beside him. "That was quite a speech," Hyun said, as she initiated the launch sequence. "It came from both of us," June replied, looking at Bayek. The ship rose from the hangar floor. The king shouted orders, but his remaining guards were too disorganized to stop them. The ship shot out of the hangar and into space. As they accelerated away from the palace, June felt a new thought from Bayek, clearer than any before. Coordinates, to a place where other Payan had hidden from the king, a sanctuary between the stars. "I know where we need to go," June told Hyun. "What will we do there?" she asked. June looked down at his hands, still glowing with blue light. He thought of his simple repair shop, of Minji waiting for his return, of all the people suffering under King Tae's rule. "First we find the other Payan," he said. "Then we return to New Soul Colony for Minji. And after that," he smiled as Bayek pressed against his leg, "after that, we show the galaxy what happens when you trick a human mechanic." Hyun laughed as she set the coordinates. The king wanted a weapon. Instead, he created his own downfall. The stars stretched into lines of light as the ship jumped to faster than light speed. June placed his hand on Bayek's head, feeling their shared thoughts and purpose. The king had wanted a tool of war. Instead, he had created something new. A human and a Payan, bonded as one, with the power to change the galaxy forever. Somewhere in the New Soul Colony, Minji looked up at the night sky, wondering when her friend would return. She did not know that when he did, nothing would ever be the same again.